The last few weeks have seen a big debate open up about the future of sim racing. Is it in a good state? Will it grow in the future? And most importantly, who is it for? The debacle of the virtual 24 Hours of Le Mans raised fresh concerns about exclusive licensing and flawed tech, with participation limited to pro drivers and high-profile sim racers, and the race itself disrupted with several server disconnections. iRacing's 24 Hours of Daytona welcomed thousands of players and teams, but while it largely ran smoothly, it was again blighted by eSports teams using exploits to gain time and seemingly going unpunished by the race organisers. Meanwhile, Alex Brundle kicked off a debate on Twitter as to whether sim racing holds itself back by predominantly trying to emulate the real-world racing calendar. And then ESL announced a brand new eSports competition for 2023 using the debuting Rensport platform with a €500,000 prize pool. These kinds of debates and developments are inevitable and are likely to appear in other genres and disciplines across the virtual world in one way or another. But where I get a bit concerned is when it feels like we're seeing more barriers get erected which separate sim racing from the majority of people who'd like to take part. For me, the very purpose of sim racing is to bring people closer to their aspirations, dreams and fantasies of experiencing what it is to go motor racing. It's why, in response to Brundle's question, I instinctively have less time for the creation of fictional or fantasy tracks per se, but I have all the time in the world for living out the experience of driving historic tracks in classic machinery. The vast majority of us lack the time, money, dedication and drive to forge a motor racing career of our own, much less a time machine to go back to the 1970s. And yet, despite being significantly cheaper than going racing in the real world, sim racing is already a tough activity to get into, with significant costs associated with hardware and, in some titles, software as well. In fact, it's deeply ironic that iRacing has provided the accessible quote-unquote option for taking part in a huge worldwide event in the last fortnight, given it tends to cost literally hundreds of pounds to race regularly on the service and is still dependent on a paid-for subscription model on top of that. The truth is, most of us have other lives to lead too, so barriers like time constraints as we juggle work and family life come into play. Or how about even space in our homes? My rig occupies a tiny space in our attic, and I'm lucky I know plenty of people who literally race from a cupboard under their stairs. But I think sim racing should be for everyone. We need to see less exclusivity, not more. Fewer barriers to entry and more accessible titles with higher quality user interfaces and better onboarding that can allow a novice to become immersed in the genre. Esports no doubt has a role to play in building the profile of the genre, creating exciting competitions and commercial opportunities. And for those sim racers who really want to push themselves and be the best virtual racer out there, and perhaps one day even go racing in real life, they're a key part of the sim racing landscape. But what about the rest of us? Well, I can only give you my perspective. You might feel differently, but the truth is I know I'll never be quick enough to participate, and I barely follow esports at all. I'd almost never click on an official stream of a big esports event. I'm a bit more likely to tune in to see how Jimmy Broadbent or Jardier are getting on their personal streams, but even then, I rarely do. I am, however, much more likely to follow a sim racer I know within a community participate in a big event. I have much more of a direct connection with that person, and I'm tuning in to offer support and experience firsthand how they get on. But the truth is, I spend much more time out on track myself, or watching casual streams of other sim racers engaging in the same daily races that I can take part in myself. The key thing for me is I have a direct connection with the action and the person that I'm watching on screen. Whereas, to misquote an old Smith song, esports has nothing to say to me about my sim racing life. So this isn't an argument to get rid of esports. I really hope it grows, because if it does, then that probably means more big brands and money flowing into the genre. When I say sim racing should be for everyone, I mean it, and for some people, elite competition is their focus. But I really hope its growth doesn't lead to more barriers to participation in big events being thrown up, and a more exclusive and more niche sim racing world evolving in the years ahead. I want to see more time and investment in creating new and better experiences for all sim racers in the titles that we play, for a price more people can afford. Sim racing should be for everyone. Let me know in the comments what you think, no matter if you agree or disagree, and even better, come continue the discussion on the Broca Discord server. There's a link in the description.